Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and we are here to talk about The Lord of the Rings. So, continuing with the madness of last month, Steve Donahue, Tony from An Erudite Adventure, and myself are reading through The Lord of the Rings. Now, Tony did what a normal, sensible person would do. He started with Fellowship of the Ring back in January. Steve and I decided to jump in February and join him starting with the Two Towers, and it was a delightful experience. It's shown Steve a lot. And so we decided to continue along with Tony, rolling into Return of the King this month. And so I'm well overdue, as you can see by the date of this, on giving my thoughts along the way. We're basically breaking it down. Return of the King's got two books. Each book has roughly 5 chapters. The last book has only 4, or has 9. So each book has 10 chapters, sorry. 10 chapters in the first one, which breaks down to 5 chapters a week. And then the book 6 has 9 chapters, which breaks down to 5 and then 4. So I've read all of book 5. My plan was to make 2 different videos talking about each half of that. But life gets in the way of best laid plans. Even now, I don't have a whole lot of time. As you can see behind me, it is dark. It is early in the morning, and I've got to get ready to go to work. And I've got kids that'll be waking up any minute now. So I want to get this made because I wanted to not miss another day without talking about this. So I'm going to just pull up the table of contents here to just list off the different chapters. So book 5. So the first half of Return of the King consists of Minas Tirith, the passing of the Great Company, the muster of Rohan, siege of Gondor, rite of the Rohirrim, battle of Pelennor Fields, pyre of Denethor, houses of healing, last debate, and the Black Gate opens. And there's a lot that happens in these. The first couple of chapters are a very split branched narrative. So on one hand we have Gandalf, who is going off to Gondor at the end of the last book with Hobbit in tow. So he's got Peregrine Took, I believe it is, going along to visit Denethor to help bolster the defenses of Minas Tirith. You've got Merry, who ends up being left behind with the 3 hunters. So he ends up having to go with Theoden back to Edoras after the Battle of Helm's Deep in order to go with the muster of Rohan. They're going to go and ride forth. They're answering the call. The beacons have been lit. The red arrow's been delivered. They are going to the aid of Gondor, but it's going to take them a while to get there because they've got to go. And Theoden, even tells him, well, what would you do other than be a burden to one of my riders? You can't ride on your own. You can't fight. So if you came with us, you couldn't ride along this path with us. And even if you did, you would be nothing more than a hindrance to whoever you rode with. So you would essentially negate a warrior. And the other branching narrative is Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, a couple of Elrond's sons, and some of the Dunedain Rangers going through the paths of the dead. So we have those 3 split branching narratives that all kind of start to come together around the time of the Rite of the Rohirrim Battle of Pelennor Fields. And they are just wonderfully done. You get enough of each that you see how they're all kind of branching together. This is a very compacted timeline, it feels. And you get some very, very fun experiences along the way. The discussions of Merry with Durnhelm, which is Eowyn in disguise. He doesn't realize it. You can tell that there are a few people among the company that are in league with Eowyn and her hobbit friend. They aren't exactly sneaky. And obviously, if you're riding alongside a group of people, they're going to know something's up. So they've got some fellow conspirators on the way, including a delightful exchange that the Hobbit has as baggage with one of the writers. And it's very, very enjoyable. We have some really good stuff back in Minas Tirith with Gandalf striving his will against Denethor, who is great in his own regard. And we get glimpses in here, more so than anything that's ever shown in the movie, that Denethor is wise, powerful, almost on equal footing with Gandalf at times in the power of his will. His demise in here is far, far different than it is in the film. He doesn't go and walk out of a window. He lights himself on fire holding a palantir. But, of course, the best scenes in here come along with the Rite of the Rohirrim and the Battle of Pelennor Fields. But much like Helm's Deep, Tolkien is almost a minimalist when it comes to these action battle scenes. He's really good at them. But it's less about following the fights than it is about following alongside a hobbit or some other minor character along the way. And how they're viewing and interacting. With Helm's Deep, we get a lot of Legolas and Gimli and their banter and their interactions to see the ebbs and flows of that battle. And here we see it mostly from the hobbits, including the battle with the Lord of the Nazgul, who is going to break into Helm's Deep, but then Éowyn goes and fights to the defense of Theoden, who has been, taken down, has been mortally wounded. She thinks he's dead. He's not quite dead, because he's still have a chance to say some final words later. But she comes to his defense, and there's a prophecy that gets fulfilled. No blade by man can defeat me, and the reveal that we all know from the movie, Éowyn whipping off the helmet, I am no man. And, all of those are just wonderful. Éowyn's one of my favorite characters. I've always enjoyed her, not just from the film, but even more so in the books. I was vetoed on being able to name my daughter Éowyn, so we settled on Elwyn. Strikingly similar. And I'm very happy with where we landed on that. We get a lot of beats that, as Steve Donahue points out, we have the rising action, and then we get what a lot of authors today would kind of skip over, the kind of quieter pauses, like what we have with the Houses of Healing. So we have the Battle of Pelennor Fields, we have all this action, the drama of Denethor, and is he going to burn Faramir alive, who's not dead? And then we have the Houses of Healing, where we get to see very little other than that Aragorn fulfills a prophecy that the hands of a king are hands of a healer, works along on Faramir and Éowyn and Merry to kind of nurse them back to health. And that of them, Merry's able to recover quite quickly. He struck the Witch King to help Éowyn be able to finish off the Lord of the Nazgul. And so that hand has been, affected by that. And we get some delightful banter with one of the healers named Aerith. And some snarky comments. And both Steve and Tony do a wonderful job of talking about all of these in detail, because they dedicated far more time to this than I'm able to do. I'm running up against my upper limit here. So I want to just conclude this with the final chapter where the Black Gate opens. They ride off to Knowing Doom, and we see some delightful things. So Tolkien was a devout Catholic. He probably knew a decent amount of scripture. And it's interesting. They're writing there, and we see Aragorn allows people who are second guessing themselves, are regretting the decision, are fearful of the idea of riding into Mordor. So they probably, as they were leaving Minas Tirith, the emotions are still high. Yeah, let's go get them. As they're going, they're just kind of second guessing themselves, and he lets them go and have different tasks that are still meaningful, but basically diminishes the might of his army. It's already pitiful compared to what Mordor is going to be able to bring against them. And it strikes an interesting parallel in the Bible, where we have a scene. I'm thinking it's in the book of Joshua, but I might be mistaken, where they're riding along to battle, and the he ends up taking just, I think, 300 men into the battle because of very similar reasons. That there are ways that God keeps saying, okay, now do this test. Okay, the people that do this, these are the people that you take with you. And so he ends up having just a really small army. And it's interesting to me to see those kind of parallels in there. They get to the gate. Mouth of Sauron rides out. Very, very fun and interesting exchange here. At the end of the chapter, like you would expect, we have, through the eyes of the one hobbit that's able to go along, Pippin. And, because Merry still, needs to recover. And he gets knocked unconscious pretty quickly into the battle. And as he falls into unconsciousness, we just hear, the eagles are coming. He's like, oh, I must have heard that wrong. This sounds like, something out of Bilbo's story. And we don't see anything else of that big battle, which is very, very much in the scheme of Tolkien. And at this point, all we know is that the Mouth of Sauron has shown things that Frodo had on him. The mithril coat, and the sword, and not Sting, but one of the Elvish blades. And so, if somebody has not seen the movies or read the books at this point in time, they've got to think, oh no, the quest has failed. That what the Mouth of Sauron is saying is absolutely true. That the Hobbit has been captured. We know that he's been captured at the end of book 4. Sam needs to go and save him. We won't find out until book 6 anything differently. And Tolkien does some really good things where he has these POV shifts. We saw it in the Two Towers with the capturing of Merry and Pippin, and not getting the first Merry and Pippin chapter until after the agony that the 3 hunters go through on are whether or not they're still alive. We will follow this and avenge them. So, okay, I'm out of time. I'm sorry. I promise for the finale here, I will try to do a lot better on being able to have a better niche of time, to be more prepared to maybe even make 2 different videos where I talk about each of the halves along the way. And then we'll see about rolling into some of the appendices afterwards. So, thank you. I will talk to you later.